I know you go all in with your business and you're all over the place on the road a ton. How do you balance that with your kids, your family? That's a big question for me.
By not overjudging myself and by being aware that it's going to ebb and flow. Some days are going to be a 15-hour day when you have a business, because what people that don't have businesses don't realize is your business is the other child, and it's also the child that feeds your actual child. And so, I think that people are like, oh man, like they can never say like, oh my God, I'm going to pick my business over my child. But the reality is there's not an entrepreneur on the planet that hasn't in the micro, not in the macro. And so it's a game of not beating yourself up, brother. Like you have, God willing, the next 70 years, at least, maybe 80, given how young you are in modern medicine, to spend time with that child. And so, nobody wants to miss an hour here or an hour there. Who wants to miss their kid's first step or their first word? Nobody wants to miss a recital or a big game. And you fight for those things. I always fight for those things. But if the occasional scenario pops up where I don't have the opportunity to attend something because there's a critical moment in a business that is very important, I'm not going to beat myself up and say that I'm not a good dad. And, I didn't even see my dad the first 13 years of my life because he worked so much because we just came to America, and he's the best dad and we have the greatest relationship. So as you can imagine, I'm not scared of it.
Yeah. No, thank you. And, I had that conversation with my wife. I was like, babe, we're on Team Welt. And like when you're at home and you're taking care of the kid, and yes, those are those harder times when I'm away, you're allowing me to go out there and have impact and meet people and change the world and be able to build our legacy. And so when you think about it in that form, like that's really helped our relationship grow to that next level. Like, babe, we're doing this together. We're having impact together. Even though you're sitting at home with the child and I'm out, hanging out with David Meltzer and being able to speak with you and get the message out. So it's like we're still just all rowing in the same direction. And
oh, by the way, like the incredibleness of raising a child is way cooler than talking to Garyvee and David Meltzer.
For sure. But to that same point, when your kids get older, and I have 3 teenagers, 23, 21, and 18, and one actually works with me now, just be realistic. They don't want to effing spend all their time with you either. I beg for 2 minutes a day and I'm cool with it.
Yeah. That starts transitioning around 13, where kids their friends become their primary life, not their parents. So I will say for young parents, milk as much as you can out of 1 through 13. Dave, I'm sure you feel this. I already feel it in some ways. Milk as much of that time when we were the center of their world, because you're right, it flips. For now you have parent. At this point in my career, the only person I can think of that doesn't pick up my call is my daughter.
And another thing that you're very clear on is hustling, working hard, hard work ethic.
I think hard work matters.
I agree with you, but there's this whole wave, I don't know if you've seen, of people coming in now.
Are you kidding?
Of saying,
I'm the one who's fucking
work-life balance.
Of course.
That you shouldn't work hard.
I'm the one that gets picked on for that, because the manifestation of me believing in hard work has been, I say that I sleep 6, 7, and 8 hours, and that nobody should do anything that doesn't make them happy, and that making $47,000 a year and being happy is amazing, and yet people want to make me the poster child of overworking and burning yourself out. I get it. I understand what happens once you hit a certain tier. I also understand that maybe I could have done a better job earlier in the process of my career in creating clarification. Thus, I'm okay with getting link baited into some of these conversations. But listen, I believe in work-life balance. I just think my work-life balance is different than yours. I also think that happiness needs to be thought about. And like, when you love what you do, like, this is my hobby.
You also have to know what you want, right?
Correct.
If you want to be a billionaire, you're not going to do it by just sleeping all day.
Let me say it one more time, because I've got to clarify it all the fucking time. I'll say it for the 9,000th fucking time. The pursuit of trying to buy the New York Jets is my passion, because it allows me to play the game that I love. I love being a businessman the way a lot of you love playing football, the way a lot of you love to ski, the way a lot of you love to read, the way a lot of you love to cook, watch Netflix, hang out with your friends. If given the option, besides garage sailing and watching the Jets, professionally, forget about family, that's on a pedestal that nothing can touch. Outside of spending time with my inner family and closest friends, and outside of garage selling and watching the Jets, there's nothing I'd rather do than work a 15-hour day.
You're self-aware, you know you.
And I always have. This is why I shoveled snow and did lemonade, and I washed fucking cars as a 7-year-old all day long on August 9th, because it's what I like. And I'm not gonna judge somebody who wants to work 9 to 5, be on 13 fucking softball teams and play fucking video games all day and make $42K a year. If she and he are pumped as fuck, they're equal to me, because I know a bunch of miserable fucking billionaires and I know a lot of fucking happy 55K a years and everything in between. So here's my thing. If you listen carefully, I'm only spitting 2 core things. You be self-aware and you make yourself happy, and don't let anything other variables, you adjust to macro variables. And 2, this is what makes me happy. A lot of people are spitting their ideology on other people, especially after they've already accomplished something.
I'm curious, for people who are trying to find meaning in life, to live a meaningful life, what would you say to them?
I think a couple things, it's a very heavy question. I think people, first of all, have to give a lot more thought to the environment and the parents that raised them. There's a lot of answers in there, like a lot. So that's interesting to me. That's just one hot take. I believe one of the great ways to mix things up is what you listen to and who you surround yourself with. I'm unbelievably passionate about people finding more optimistic, practical friends. And I think optimism can slide into delusion, which is why I say optimistical, practical. It's funny, as you were talking about minimalism, it's so interesting that you're the first person to ever say it to me that I can recall, and it feels very real to me. Like, I don't have outside things kind of driving me, and that's what leads me to a lot of happiness. And so I would say auditing your circle. Like, if somebody wants a meaningful life, live a meaningful life, just get happier, I think the people that you spend your time with is a big one. The amount of people listening right now who've got a mother who's super pessimistic and cynical, but they love their mother, and they don't realize that cutting down their time from 7 hours a week of engagement with their mother to 2, and adding, going out of their way to seeing the person that's always smiling in the office and trying to spark up a friendship and become friends with that person, and cutting up that 7 hours a week from mom to 2 to mom, maybe 30 minutes with that person, and maybe reallocating the other hours to themselves or other things, is a massive deal. It's a massive deal. There's only offense and defense. There's only the force and the dark side, right? And I think that right now a lot of people are choosing to be driven by fear and negativity without realizing it. And so if you're listening right now, my biggest thing is start leaning into a little bit more of optimism and positivity. I think where it overcorrects is when it goes into delusion, and that's when you start creating entitlement. And that is the tightrope that I've been talking about, thinking about, watching. And I create entitlement a lot of times because I like positivity. And it took me a little while, maybe 20 or 30 years, 20 years of operating and managing and parenting and being like, okay, I can see this, but I'm a product of not having entitlement.
Everyone's talking about this Lego video that here's a guy who's leading the way of entrepreneurship, and yet you're talking about like $2,000 that you made on eBay for Legos. What is it in your personality? There's a definition of a serial entrepreneur. You don't give a shit about how big the project is. You are completely obsessed with the idea of buying and selling and creating margin.
And I'm obsessed with the responsibility of having people be attached to the message that I'm putting out there.
Beautiful.
In a time where I'm incredibly concerned about interest rates and how much VC money there is and consumer confidence, knowing that people have all sorts of stuff in their house that's worth money, or the ability to go to a garage sale tomorrow and buy stuff that's worth money, inspires me. And whether it's closing a $25 million deal for VaynerMedia or buying something for $1 and selling it for $7 on eBay. For me, it's one in the same game. And when you have millions of people following you, tens of millions of people following you, I'm surprised by how many people don't understand you have the responsibility of providing value to them, not them giving you likes and follows. And so for me, to your point, I'll be as excited to make a video about a CNBC article about flipping Legos as I will about telling people 4 years ago that if they bet the farm on TikTok, things can work out for them, and everything in between. And while it's now 4:42 p.m. on the East Coast as we're filming this, while spending, 6 hours today with Fortune 100 companies on their macro global marketing plans. And so I have a lot of flexibility in my entrepreneurship now that I got the gray hairs, and I try to use all those skills on a daily basis.